Greetings collectors and welcome to another Bossk's Bounty video, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at the Star Wars The Vintage Collection Ahsoka Tano from Peridea, or Peridea depending on how you want to say it, also known as Ahsoka the White. So this is her look from the latter stages of the Ahsoka series. This is a live action version of Ahsoka. We've got quite a few different Ahsokas in the Vintage Collection now. We've got two from the Clone Wars. We've got the live action version from The Mandalorian, also repacked onto an Ahsoka card, and now we have this version. Now don't worry, this isn't just a straight repaint of the original Ahsoka that we got from The Mandalorian. There is actually quite a lot different about this figure, which we will go through in the review. But first of all, let's take a look at the card back. Alright then, so here is the card back. As you can see in the name pill there, we've got Ahsoka Tano and then in brackets Peridea. That's how I'm going to pronounce it anyway. And there she is in the bubble, blue background, blue name pill, very much like the previous Ahsokas that we've got. And that's a pretty decent image of her there. You can see her in her white outfit with double lightsabers. And on the back, she is VC338 in the line. If you haven't checked out all the other reviews that I've done from this particular wave, they should be on the channel, or most of them at least by the time you're watching this. And it's a pretty good card back, and essentially this is kind of the outfit that I wanted for Ahsoka Tano when I watched the show. But of course, to begin with, we got the straight repack on the Ahsoka card of her in her like blue outfit that we've already had that figure basically. We've had it twice in fact, because we had her as a deluxe as well. But this is a newer figure. As I said, there is quite a bit different, and we will get into that in a second. But there she is out of the packaging on the back of the card, Vintage Collection logo. And that's all I've really got to say about the card back. I mean, it's a pretty good image of her. And if you like the character of Ahsoka, this is going to go very, very nicely with all of the other Ahsoka cards that we have now. Alright then, so here is Ahsoka Tano out of the packaging. I've got her in a bit of a fighting stance there, making use of both lightsabers and a lot of the articulation that comes with the figure. Now, we do know that this figure, of course, has all of the modern articulation, but in my opinion, there is one thing that is missing from this figure, and it is missing from the previous version as well. And like a lot of the female characters that are coming out these days, they don't have hinges at the wrists, and it really does limit what you can do with the lightsabers and in which positions you can get them, because you can only get her shoulders and her elbows into certain poses, and then it would be really nice if you were able to sort of rock those wrists a little bit into certain directions, but unfortunately you can't. They are just swivel, so I've had to make do with what I could do with her just now. But that's her in a fighting pose. We're going to take a closer up look at the figure now, and then I'm going to do a direct comparison with the original Ahsoka Tano from The Mandalorian, so you can see which bits are different on this figure. And to be honest, as I said before, there is actually quite a fair amount of new tooling on this figure. Okay then, so here is a super close-up look at the head sculpt. So you can see how well they've done that, and I think that's a really, really good likeness of Rosario Dawson, the actress that plays Ahsoka. Of course, I'm pretty sure the actual head is the same. It's just going to be the sort of headpiece that goes on top of it for her lekkus, because this figure has longer lekkus. I believe that's what they're called anyway. And as we move back, so we can just take a look at the figure in shot, you can see that they've done a really nice job with the paint applications and the details on her belt and on her gauntlets and things like that. Really, really nice detail on this figure. You can see the paint applications on top of the head there. All in all, a really, really good looking figure. You can see the bottom of her boots. And we'll just quickly go through the articulation just before we compare the figures, and then I can tell you what's new about this figure. But essentially, the head is on the double barbell. It is a little bit restricted because of the back of that headpiece there, but still you get a decent range of motion. We have the hinges at the shoulders, which go all the way round, hinges at the elbow with swivel. As I mentioned, unfortunately no hinge at the wrist, just a swivel. And then she has the torso crunch there, which obviously swivels and goes all around. Really, really good. She has the new style hips, of course. She has the cut at the thigh. She has the hinge at the knee, which is disguised by her trousers or pants if you're in the States. And she has the rocker ankles as well. So plenty of articulation on the figure, just missing the wrists, which, as I've mentioned before with other female figures, it's a little bit disappointing, but especially Jedi's, because I feel that you kind of need it really. Alright then, so now it's time to compare her against the previous Ahsoka that we have from The Mandalorian and the Ahsoka series in her like blue stroke grey outfit. And I will use one of her little lightsabers here to point out the differences. That's quite handy. Now, if we look at the headpiece that sits on top of the head, that is different because you can tell because of the band on her forehead is actually different to that one. It's a different shape. It's not just repainted. And also her lekus are longer on this figure, as I mentioned before, ever so slightly longer. So that piece is a different piece. The face part of the head looks exactly the same to me. Now the body is repainted. So this one is a repaint of that one. And also the upper arms are as well. You can see on this one, it has the little holes in her sort of strappings on her arms there, and it does on this one as well. However, the lower arms are completely different. Her gauntlets on this arm are different to those ones. We also have a different belt piece here because we have this piece hanging down from this one. This one has this other piece coming down in front of her, which this one misses. And if we turn the figures around in a minute, you'll also see the differences of the back of the figure as well, specifically the belt piece. Now the legs to me do look the same, except for the lower legs. The boots again are completely different. So these ones have got a little bit more detail and the feet are different as well. You can see the feet are a different shape and they're a little bit bigger on this new Ahsoka than they are on this previous version. So for me, that's a different headpiece, different lower arms and different feet and a different belt piece as well. So fair amount of the figure is new. I would say the crux of the figure, the actual sort of body and legs, that's all the same, but the rest of it is pretty much new. And now we've turned the figure around, you can see that the belt piece, as I mentioned, is completely different to that one. The new version has these ties which are a lot longer than those ones, and they're a completely different shape as well. So they're not just a different paint, they are completely different. So that whole belt piece has been resculpted for the new figure. You can also see that the boots are different at the back as well. Looking at the figure's side on, you can really see the difference in the gauntlets. The gauntlets on Ahsoka the White are a lot bigger than the forearms of the previous Ahsoka. I believe the hands are exactly the same though, but the forearms are most certainly different with those different types of gauntlet. In terms of accessories, you get her two lightsabers here, as you can see, and they are exactly the same as the lightsabers that we got previously. One is longer than the other. They do have different hilts to each other. And unfortunately, you don't get any unlit lightsabers to go with them. But then again, she hasn't got anywhere on her belt that they can attach anyway. And the biggest thing that's missing from this figure, which I haven't mentioned so far in this review, is her poncho or her cloak. And Ahsoka the White really needs that, in my opinion. But then again, it would have been nice if that figure had come with that as well. We had to buy a deluxe version to get the cloak. Maybe they will release another deluxe version of Ahsoka just so we can get her cloak, but I'm not too sure if they're going to be doing that. But it would be nice because Ahsoka the White does have that poncho in the show, and also she wears it in Rebels as well, I believe, which would look pretty cool if we did have that. Unfortunately, we don't. Not a lot we can do about it now, but as I say, Hasbro, it would have been nice if you'd included that. In fact, all Jedis that wear robes, you should be including the robe with the figure at the end of the day. We shouldn't have to be paying deluxe prices just to get the robe. So there you go then, guys. That is my review of Ahsoka the White. All in all, a pretty good figure, and there is enough difference to the previous version. I'm sure because they haven't updated the figure completely and they are using some older parts that some of it may be inaccurate to the source material. But for me, the biggest factor is the missing poncho. That I think is actually worse. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks to my Patreon supporters and channel members as always. Your support means a great deal to me, so thank you so much. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we shall see you on the next one.